Good Monday to everybody. Today we have a special guest that once more, my wife, Stephanie, but this time she's going to give testimony about her childhood, trauma, abuse, all kinds of stuff that happened to her when she was growing up. She gives a quick overview. She doesn't tell everything, but she does some highlights. It was pretty intense, pretty rough, and she gives her testimony on how God delivered her. So there is some caution to this. If you have children, I would suggest you listen to it first before they hear it. But this is God stuff. This is how we keep it real. We don't avoid subjects. We don't ignore subjects. We deal with it head on. So, hey, hope you have a great Monday. Make sure you tune in Wednesday and Friday, and let's get into this.
Well, it is Monday.
Monday.
And I have a very, very special guest with me, my wife, Stephanie, once again. But this time we're going to go over her childhood, what she went through, and how God led her through healing and forgiveness.
Yep.
So what was the first memories as a child of things that traumatically impacted you?
Well, I was about 4 years old, and my mother had shipped me off to live with my dad for a while after she had my little brother. And
So you already had a split up, a divorce?
oh yeah. They split up while my mom was actually pregnant with my little brother. While my mom got through the rest of that pregnancy and gave birth and got a little bit ahead, by the time my little brother was maybe about a year and a half old, I went back to live with my mom. But during that time when I was there with my dad and his new wife, I had gotten sick. I was sick quite often.
Allergy sick, flu sick?
Yeah, we weren't quite sure. It's not like they ever really went and did any testing to find out what was going on, but I would get an upper respiratory infection, and then it would turn into an ear infection, and I would run high fevers. And
Sounds like typical kid stuff, though.
Probably. But I remember one time that I got really, really sick, and I couldn't lay on my back. So I had to sleep on the couch, and my dad would take the evening shift and my stepmother would take the day shift because she worked nights at a hospital, and ironically with birthing mothers, and my dad had a day shift job. So she would take the day, he would take the nights. But I was really sick for a while with this upper respiratory infection. So I remember the resentment that my stepmother had from having to take care of me because I'm not her daughter.
Right.
And through the night, or through the day when she was watching me, it was a constant monitoring that had to be done, because if I rolled over on my back, I could suffocate. That's how bad the upper respiratory infection was. And I would start coughing, and I would get to the point where my bronchial tubes would fill up and I couldn't breathe. Well, her resentment began to really pour out on me during that time. And I was probably only about 4 or 5.
Wow.
And whenever I would roll over on my back, I would feel her tension so strongly, and she would get so mad, and she would pick me up off the couch from laying on my back and pick me up and slam me down on my side. And that was the first time I can remember being abused. That kind of behavior continued throughout the entire time I lived with them during that short period.
So what did it create in you even back then at 4 or 5 years old?
Well, it was a lot of confusion because I didn't know what I had done wrong. You know, it wasn't like I was trying to roll over on my back. It wasn't like I was trying to make my stepmother mad.
Right.
I was just being a normal kid, but I learned to walk on eggshells
Yeah.
really
So
early.
she created a spirit of fear.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was always afraid that something I was going to say or a look I would give her was going to really set her off and make her come after me. So I moved back in with my mom. My mom was ready to take me back. And I went through probably 4 or 5 years there with my mom. And she had various boyfriends, and she was still trying to find her way as a woman. And I honestly don't hold anything against my mother. I think that she did the best that she could with what she knew.
Right.
But she only knew to follow after the lusts of her heart.
We're fallen man. That's all we got.
Right. So looking back, but I still have things that I had to deal with because there were things that she said and did that made me feel unwanted, and not just unwanted, but also it's that familiar voice that hit me even when I was living with my dad being abused. Every time I would try to say something, I was not heard.
Yeah, you were shut down.
I was constantly shut down.
And I will say, I said that we're fallen man and that's all we got. I don't mean believers. I mean people in general are fallen people. And all we have is the lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and the pride of life. That's all we got to go by.
Without Jesus, that's what we have.
That's what the knowledge of the tree of good and evil gave us.
Yeah.
That's it. So, but anyway, so you went through this abuse. You went through different boyfriends. You saw different men in and out. So that also doesn't give you a stable home.
Yeah, the home life was not exactly stable, but whenever it would get brought up, I was told that you have a roof over your head, clothes on your back, and food in your stomach.
Right.
Even though sometimes we didn't have furniture to sit on or furniture to sleep on, we still had the necessities given to us. And most of the time it came from other sources. It wasn't from my mom's paycheck or her boyfriend's paychecks. It was by the charity newsies and those organizations.
Sure. So what was the next memory of traumatic experience, going from building fear in you as a child to what happens next?
Well, we better give a disclaimer right now.
Right.
This is not for children to hear. But if you know children who have been abused in such a way, use your discretion in sharing with them. I was 8 years old, and I went to the playground, and I was going to get on the swing. And buddy, did I. I loved it. It was like my little escape world. Mm-hmm. I could run away from the house and still be close enough that even my mom could yell and we could still hear her if she came to the edge of the street. So I'm at the playground and I am swinging on the swing for all I'm worth. I'm just loving it. And along comes a girl in the neighborhood, and she had a much worse life than I did, I'm sure. But she bullied every kid, and she came up to me and said, "That's my swing." And I said, "But I was here first. I'm just a little kid. I'm as innocent as I can be. I seriously, I was here first, And that made her so mad because she wanted the swing. There were other swings, so she was after me.
Right.
So she grabbed me by my hair and pulled me off the swing and dragged me away from it and threw me on the ground and went over to the swing. And when I stood up, she stood up again and came after me and started hitting me. Now, kids fight.
Yeah.
I get it. But the traumatic part was I took off and ran home and was sitting on the front porch, and I'm bawling, crying. And my mom comes out of the house angry and yelling because I got into a fight. I provoked this little girl on the playground. Her mother called my mother and said that I hurt their little girl. And I'm looking at my mom with tears coming down my eyes and my face is swollen. And I said, "I had the swing first. That was all I could get out.
Right.
My mom said, you shouldn't have taken the swing. And before I could explain myself, I was getting a whooping. And I was told, go to your room and think about what you've done. So that was another instance where I was shut down, and it was traumatic. It wasn't so traumatic that I got into a fight with a bully, because bullies do what bullies do. But I didn't understand why I was being blamed for the whole thing. That was traumatic. And my mom wouldn't listen to me. So she believed the report of somebody else.
Right.
And it's not like we were perfect kids, you know, but that was a big one for me. And then my next biggest one was the same summer. I ended up going out by myself, and there were other kids around at the playground, and we were all playing, and it got to be dark, and all the kids just kind of started scattering and going home, and I just wasn't interested in going home. You know, there were parties going on at our house on the weekends, and there was just a lot of chaos that had no room for a child.
Right.
So it got to be dark, and I thought, okay, I better go home. It's too dark now, and I'm all by myself. So I start across the street, and just before I hit the bushes on the other side, I got grabbed by somebody. And I was brutally sodomized that night.
You were how old?
I was 8.
Well.
I was just about 9. But yeah, it was summertime. My birthday's in August, so. And when I got home, I mean, I won't even tell you about the experience. It was very traumatic, and I had to pull myself together and put my clothes back on. And I went home, and when I walked in the door crying and hurting, my mom didn't understand anything that I was saying. I was just a wreck. I was a mess. And she told me, you got into another fight again, go upstairs, take a shower, and go to bed. And that was it. I had already learned not to try and stand my ground because I had been shut down so many times. So at the age of 13, after all this traumatic stuff that had happened to me, and
Well, how did that last incident affect you from 8 to 13?
From 8 to 13, I spent the night with a next door neighbor the next summer at the age of 9. And her name was Robin. And I woke up the next in that evening, just a few hours after I'd fallen asleep. And her mother's boyfriend had his face between my legs. And the girlfriend, my girlfriend's mother, had started coming up the stairs, and he quickly exited the room. That was a miracle.
Right.
Oh, I feel tense.
Well, the enemy, from what I hear, I don't remember who said it, but they said that the enemy puts a spiritual mark on certain people before they're born again.
Oh yeah, that's part of this testimony. I'm telling you what, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. From the age of 8 to 13, how that all affected my life was, I felt like I was just to do what I was supposed to do to get through the moments. Whatever's coming is coming, and I just need to learn how to cope with it.
So you started in survival mode because no one would listen to you anyway.
Right. The voice was already training me to not believe that anybody wanted to hear what I had to say. Nobody wants to hear what you have to say. No one understands you, and no one cares. And that's what I was trained in. By the time I was 12 or 13, I wanted out of my mom's lifestyle. You know, the boyfriends, and there were other things that happened that I'm not ready to share because that hasn't been dealt with people, and I want to protect them. So we'll move on from that. I went back to live with my dad.
At what age?
I was about 13.
All right.
And I begged him to come get me because I was this big target for men in the neighborhood. And there were predators all around me. It was just that kind of neighborhood. So I go back to live with my dad.
Well, what happened at your dad's once you moved in with your dad at 13?
Okay. So when I moved back in with my dad at 13, everything seemed okay.
Was he still married to the same woman?
He was. He's still married to the same woman at this time. And she took me out shopping on their credit cards, and we went shopping for clothes and toys and dolls and stuff like that all the girls want, you know. And she bought me a day bed, and it was just so beautiful. But the problem was that I didn't have a girlish mentality. I was a tomboy.
Yeah.
And I felt like I had to look rough, look tough all the time. So she buys me all these dolls, these Cabbage Patch dolls and Barbies, and it was overkill, basically. And she bought me all the clothes that she thought that I should wear, and the dolls she thought that I should have.
So she didn't let you pick anything out?
No, I didn't have a lot of choice still in the matter. It's what you have to say and what you have to feel it doesn't matter.
Yeah, back to that being unheard.
Yeah. So when I would act out even just a little bit, like I come in late, just a couple minutes from the pool or hanging out with my friends in the neighborhood, and it was a beating. And then it was always thrown up in my face what people do for me. Like her parents, my dad, and what she had done for me. Those things always came out of her mouth, that I should be grateful. And
so there were strings attached to everything she did? Everything. And there was even a moment when me and my girlfriend, we had gotten a hold of some like Wet n Wild makeup, you know, kid stuff. Mm-hmm. And we were putting makeup on. Well, I didn't manage to get it all off of me before I got home, and I was in a hurry to get it off because I knew I wasn't allowed to wear makeup and I wasn't allowed to chase boys and all that stuff. I mean, some of the rules were reasonable for my age. I was 13, 14 years old. But I got home and she could tell that I had makeup on my face. And she dragged me into the bathroom, the half bath downstairs, and pressed my face against the mirror and called me a whore. My goodness.
Yeah. So I survived a lot of abuse. There was one point where she had gotten really angry with me and she threw me on the floor. This is graphic, just a warning. She threw me on the floor, even in front of my dad, and ripped my pants off of me and threw my legs up and ran her fingers across my private parts and said, "Look, she probably still has the evidence of him on her."
Wow.
Because I liked a boy.
So she automatically assumed you were sleeping with him.
Right. So I moved out. We had to move out of this apartment complex because they found out that there was another person living with them that they didn't have on the lease. So, guess whose fault that is? It was mine. Because I was outside after school and the leasing office saw me going in and out of the house, in and out of the apartment. So we had to move because they broke the lease. So we move into this other place And that's where I found my first love. And we were boyfriend and girlfriend, and we clicked. He introduced me to all kinds of musics and everything, and he became my escape from the hell that I was living in.
Yeah.
And then, late in my year of being 15, the abuse had gotten to the point where I was having to stay home from school and away from my boyfriend for days at a time because I'd have scratches on me and bruises that couldn't be explained any other way than I was being abused. So I was forced to stay home. I had been locked in closets with all of my possessions that she had bought me thrown in there on top of me when she got angry.
Well,
By the time before I turned 16, I felt so confused and lost in life. And I was already feeling suicidal because I felt trapped. No matter where I went, I felt trapped.
no matter where you went, there was just constant abuse.
Yeah, of some sort, yeah. Or neglect. Because my dad had to have known that this stuff was going on. I look back and go, there's no way he didn't know. I had bruises and scratches. And he was tormented by those things, I'm sure, because I would hear him fight with his wife a lot. There was one time that she stole $20 out of his bag and accused me of doing it.
Jeez.
And I woke up to my dad shaking me, demanding his $20. And I told him, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't take your money. Well, when he left for work that morning without his $20, I pulled myself together, got ready to get for the day, went downstairs. I had been grounded now because, I took $20. So I'm grounded. I can't go to the pool today. I can't go be with my friends. I can't see my boyfriend. So I come down the stairs and I'm going to the kitchen to get something to eat. And that $20 was sitting right there on the counter. And she was sitting at the table. And I confronted her. And I said, you took his $20. And I cannot repeat everything that she said to me.
Right.
While she was grabbing my hair and punching me. I was getting backhanded, thrown around the kitchen, and it was so bad I tried to climb underneath the kitchen sink. And I had scratches on my sides from where she had grabbed my clothes and tried to pull me out. And I had a hold of the drain underneath the sink. That night, I didn't see my dad. The next day, he said that he was sorry for smacking me and shaking me to wake me up about the $20. He didn't realize that he had hit me that hard that he had bruised my face. He didn't. It was all her.
Yeah.
That was about the time that I decided I have got to go. I have to get out. Even it was much less harsh. It was much friendlier to live with my mother than to live with my father. So I called my mom and I said, I want to come home. With bitter tears, I was crying to her, I want to come home. I can't stay here anymore. What kind of trouble did you get yourself in now? I did not get myself in trouble, but I am in trouble. I want to come home. And she sent one of her friends to pick me up because she was at work. And I told her, I said, it has to be before Dad gets home. It was this period of time where the stepmother went to work and I had free time before my dad got home. Mm-hmm. So I called my mom and I told her to come get me. So she sent a friend to come and get me and I left. Little did I know that they had asked my boyfriend to move in with them after I left. I didn't understand that. I didn't know why, but he didn't have anywhere to go because his parents had moved back to Kentucky and he didn't want to go to Kentucky. He wanted to stay in the familiar place where I was. Well, fast forward. Of course, I'm not in relationship with him. I moved back in with my mom. Nothing horrible happened. Just a whole lot of drama and trouble and no abuses. But at the age of 17, I had finally had enough of their house, and my mom had actually been in, oh yeah, there was one abuse, yeah. The night that my stepdad got really drunk, and when he got really drunk,
This is living at your mom's house,
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
yeah, when my stepdad got drunk, he was abusive. Any other time he was not. I mean, he was a great guy. But when he got on alcohol, he was abusive. And he came after my mom one night, and my little brother and I tried to confront and get in the middle of it because he was hitting my mom. So he had scared David so bad.
David's your...
Little brother.
Okay.
He had scared him so bad that he grabbed the dog and jumped out of his bedroom window and took off down the street looking for help. And I was in the kitchen where my mom and my stepdad were, and I was trying to stop this fight. My stepdad grabbed me, picked me up by my ears and my hair, and picked me up and was slamming me against the cabinets in the kitchen. And he threw me down, and I landed on my mom's foot and broke it. But if her foot hadn't been there,
Right.
my head would have hit the linoleum floor. And it's concrete slab. Didn't have a basement in that place. And we spent the night next door. And when we woke up the next morning, they found him laying on the bed, stark naked, with his guns out all over the bed with him.
Yeah.
That was a scary time. And shortly after that, I turned 17, and I decided I didn't want to do this anymore, but I didn't know how to get out of it. I couldn't go back to my dad. I just couldn't. Murders were going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
That's how much frustration and anger I had building in me after all these years of abuses. So I came up with a plan. I was going to find a man that was older than me, and I was going to get married.
Because that'll solve everything.
Everything. Everything. Well, hindsight's always 20/20. But so I find this guy. He's really cool. He's got a motorcycle. It's a Kawasaki, but who's counting that?
Yeah, we're not judging him right now.
We're not judging them right now.
Not now, anyway.
And he was everything that I needed for my plan to work. And he had to prove himself to my parents so that they would sign the papers so that I could get married. My mom was all too ready to do this. You know, no more eating out of her fridge.
Right.
You know. So my dad had a little bit more convincing to do. And he asked me why I wouldn't just come back to stay with them. And I said, if you don't know why, then you're blind. And I said, I'm not coming back. A couple days later, he called my mom and he said, I went downtown and I signed the paper. She can get married now. So me and this guy went downtown, and it was so silly. I'm telling you, we went before the judge. We had witnesses, people that I went to high school with. I was wearing this funky looking pink dress that had a fluff, and it only came down past my knees. Anyway, it wasn't like I was the beautiful bride. It was just the nicest thing I had at the time. And we got married. And it didn't take but about 3 or 4 months, and we had moved to Florida, and the abuse started.
It's like, here we go again.
Again.
Now, were you causing the abuse? I mean, because coming from abuse, you start getting attitudes and...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there were times where I provoked.
Right.
Absolutely. he was not 100% responsible for.
Well, not that it's an excuse for abuse.
Right.
There should never be an excuse for abuse, that
Right.
even if you provoke it, but
We were of the world. Love equaled sex.
Yeah.
Sex equaled love.
and if that was true, then porn stars would be the best lovers in the world,
Right.
but it's just not. So
Right.
love and sex, they can go hand in hand, but they can be absolutely separate and mechanical too.
Yep. And it's funny too, because before I got married, I didn't think about those things. It wasn't like I'm like, oh yeah, we're going to stay married forever and we're going to love each other and care for each other. I had no concept of what a relationship was supposed to be. All I knew was abuse, sex, and shut up. And it's not in my purview to shut up if I'm being forced.
Right.
So we were living in Florida. We did that for about 7 months. We were actually together for 1.5 years before I met you.
The better center.
Yeah, that was a very trying marriage. Anyway, right after I met you, before you and I were even really a thing, he had slammed my head down on the car and I had a concussion.
Mm-hmm. I remember that. And your friend Tamisha brought you over to my house.
Yeah.
She wanted to get with me, and I guess she wanted to show you her friend at the time.
Yeah. She wanted me to see the prize that she had caught.
Yeah.
She thought that she had caught.
But I had no interest.
Yeah.
But Tamisha brought this pretty girl over. I was like, man, she's got beautiful brown eyes. She's pretty. And I was always raised, protect women, cherish women.
There you have it. Keeping It Real, Kingdom Conversations Part 1 with Stephanie. And, of course, me, her husband, John. Tune in Wednesday for the continuation of this conversation. If you know anybody that's been through abuse, pass it along to them. There's hope. You don't have to keep dealing with it. You can get peace of mind. As Stephanie says in the podcast, God did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And if you don't know Him, you can. If you don't know Jesus, you can. But make sure you tune in Wednesday and Friday for the continuation of this podcast. And we will see you Wednesday.